I've got a daughter that lives in Colorado. I've got a granddaughter that's going into the Wicklund. Granddaughter living in.
Okay, I'll get us started since it's 5 minutes after 10. Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Samantha Bailey. I just started here at PPACG as their environmental planner a few weeks ago, and I'll be taking over the Water Quality Committee and helping you guys out as much as I can. To help me out and to start out the meeting, I wish if we could do a round of introductions, that would be great. So, Sam Bailey.
Jerry Jacobson, Woodman Hills Metropolitan District.
Mike Fink, City of Fountain. I'm Reno, Colorado Springs Utilities.
Berlin, Colorado Springs Utilities.
Hello, I'm here for Roy Hill.
Okay.
And I'm Adrian from SCADA Sanitation.
I'm Connie King. I'm attorney and engineer. I represent Security Sanitation District of the Monument for Fountain Charity.
Thank you.
Mike Wicklund, Monument Sanitation District Chairman of the Water Quality Management Committee. What's that? Oh, I know. Actually, we had a North Monument Creek interceptor meeting at Matrix today, but I've got Aaron up there sitting in on that meeting. So we'll call to order, and it is 10:06 by that clock. And our first item on the agenda is the 208 plan overview and progress updates.
Actually, for Brown and Caldwell, they're going to be a little late, so I would like to amend the agenda to start with site applications first.
Okay, so we will do that. We will start with the site applications. So on here, we've got review of Falcon Meadow RV campground site application report. Are the applicants here?
Yes, they're on the phone.
Okay. Okay. So you may go ahead on the phone.
Alice, can you hear us?
I can.
Great.
How are you guys doing?
Good, good. We are just beginning to review your site application.
Okay. Would you like me to present any kind of summary or anything?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Can she hear me?
Can you hear us, Alice?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. If you could start with a quick summary, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. So our client is the Falcon Meadow RV campground, and they have just a smaller campground there with some expansion possible. They have an existing leach field system that's failing and that they need to move away from. So they have worked with the Woodman Hills Metropolitan District, which is very nearby, and come to an agreement that they can consolidate with them. So this project is the lift station that is needed to pump from the RV park to a fairly nearby gravity collection system that's part of the Woodman Hills Metropolitan District. And from there, the wastewater would move through the Woodman Hills collection system and onto their new treatment plant. We previously brought this through, I believe maybe it was your last round or 2 rounds ago, with the design of only one pump in the lift station, just due to constraints within the site. But obviously that was not acceptable. It's just that's completely fine. So we've revised everything. We will now have 2 pumps in the lift station. We've also gotten the existing 10,000-gallon tank inspected for integrity. That tank is immediately upstream of the proposed lift station and would be used in the event of a lift station failure. There is also going to be a generator located on site that the client is in the process of obtaining as part and will obtain before startup of the lift station. So I think those were the hang-ups last time, unless I missed anything. But other than those hang-ups from the last review, it's a pretty straightforward, just a little lift station pump into a district to consolidate.
Any comments from the committee?
This is Mike Fink from City of Fountain Water Utility, and Mike and I were at the SARC. You were at the SARC.
Hunter was,
as
yeah.
well. I believe those were the two largest, or the two most important comments that we had to get duplex pumps in.
Yes.
And to see the soundness of the holding tank, right?
Yes. And we have a letter from a licensed engineer, Nicholas Marcotti or something like that, who has signed off on the tank for overflow, which was the existing tank for the septic system. A comment that I have is we would like, if the committee is in agreement here, we would like to see the plans now for the new lift station that shows the two pumps, shows the generator. We also are going to need information on that generator to make sure that under load that the generator is properly sized.
Okay, so the plans should be in the back of that site application. If they're not for any reason, if the PDF was corrupt, I can get those to you.
Okay.
The plans have been updated to show the two pumps and the tying together of the force mains and everything like that. The generator is explained in the report, but it's not shown on the plans. But I can revise that and provide any additional details you'd like on that generator after this call.
Okay, I guess I might not have been able to open this attachment when it was sent out to me. There was something that I couldn't open, and maybe that's why I didn't see it. Did Hunter and Michael and Jerry, did you guys get that?
This is Michael. I wasn't able to recover that. I have my documents from the SARC, that's all. So.
Yeah, was that sent with the agenda for today?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was a hyperlink within the email because
Okay.
through Dropbox, since
Okay.
the file was too large to send via email.
Okay.
Okay, so, well, I guess for the committee here, if they've done the design and put in the second pump, the tank is adequate. We know that from the engineer's letter, and they are going to be putting in a generator. I will leave it to the committee to give a motion to approve this, let's see, it's called the Fountain Meadow Campground Lift Station.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, Mike has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Hunter seconds. Okay, is there any further discussion on this particular applicant? There being no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Okay, you're ready to go now on to the PPACG. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Alice.
so much for your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is the Black Squirrel Lift Station number 2 update, and I think it's just a matter of a force main that is changing. Is that correct?
Kyle Campbell of Classic Consulting should be here to answer any questions for you. I'm not sure if he
Okay.
has arrived just yet. Maybe we want to wait a few moments for Kyle to arrive.
Sure.
Great.
I know we had approved this lift station and with the force main that was presented. I don't know how much difference it's going to make. on their force main alignment. So we'll give Kyle Campbell a chance to show up here. We can move to the next agenda item, which is next meeting planned to be scheduled on July 2nd or July 9th. Do we have any discussion about that? Either of those. I may be gone the first part of July on vacation, so that Michael will be able to take over for me.
I think that Jim Heckman's the first vice chair.
Oh, is he the first?
I'm the second vice chair.
You're second. All right, so Jim Heckman would take over. Anyway, I guess we're just waiting on these folks to come then.
Does anybody have a preference as to the 2nd over the 9th?
For me, I don't.
Oh, you said you're yeah.
I'm going to be gone, so yeah.
So,
Okay, we'll keep it to the 2nd then. I just wanted to make sure there weren't any conflicts with the holiday that week. Thank you.
Okay. And, okay, so did everybody get a chance to see the new alignment for the force main? I mean, I guess, it is a force main, and it does have to be approved by this committee. I think I had suggested to Samantha that they touch base with it, that they could have touched base with us via email, and we could have amended just by comments that way on it. Unless there's something peculiar about this, I don't know.
I thought the meeting would be a better time.
It
Kyle
is.
from
You're right.
Classic, he was waiting for the Colorado Health Department to review the site design, so I just got these late last week.
Right,
So
yeah.
timing worked better here.
And we're waiting on Brown and Caldwell.
Yes.
That's what you're telling me. Okay, all right. Anybody want to talk about what they did this spring? Besides shovel snow? Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Samantha, how about you tell us about yourself? That'll fill in the gap.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this in my email, but I moved here from Wisconsin not too long ago. My husband got a job here in Colorado, and I was fortunate enough to land at PPACG. I have my degree in environmental science, and throughout my professional career, I worked for a variety of different environmental government groups. My last position was for the state of Wisconsin and their environmental health program, and I was a program and policy analyst, so a lot of grant coordination and administration, including water quality work. So I'm glad to be here, and I like it so far, but it's only been my 2nd week, so.
Well, thank you. It's good to have somebody on board. We've been just kind of getting by after Rich Muzzy left.
Mm-hmm.
But the team has done a good job. The PPACG team has done a very good job to get us through the transition. So you're permanent now.
Great.
You're stuck with us. We've got somebody walking in the room.
Samantha, if you want to put it on your calendar on June 24th, we will be meeting at 1:30 p.m., I believe at City of Fountain City Hall, Jerry, for the Lower Fountain Water Quality Management Association,
Great.
which is one of the groups that reports out to this group. So you're certainly welcome. I'll put you on the distribution.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Samantha, did you have You should have had 208 in Wisconsin.
Yes.
Okay, so you understand what 208 is
Yes.
and all of that?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. All right, it looks like Kyle is here.
Yes.
How about, come on up and tell us what you're doing, Kyle?
Let me go to the mic or?
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. And then hit the button with the face, and that records you.
Great. Well, good morning. Sorry I'm a little late. Kyle Campbell with Classic Consulting, Engineers and Surveyors, here on behalf of La Plata Communities regarding an application, a site application that we had in front of this group probably 4 months ago. It's been a little while. Since that approval, we've been working with Doug Camerood up at the State Department of Health. We've also been working with Colorado Springs Utilities, and there is a proposed change in the force main outfall location based upon several factors. And so just to get everybody dialed into the actual location, there's our nice to meet you, by the way, after all the emails.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the site application that was approved and made its way through the PPACG process is we have a lift station that sits up in this location here. Just to get everybody dialed in, I-25 sort of sits off the page here. This large area is the Air Force Academy, what we call the buffer area. As the Air Force Academy owns the land underneath I-25, their ownership actually extends much further to the east. And so just to dial it in, here is the Hollywood Theater that sits right here, Interquest Parkway that runs east-west along here, and then this is the Great Wolf Lodge water park that sits in that location there. And so the whole catalyst, the reason for this particular lift station is twofold. There's residential development to the north of Black Squirrel Creek, which runs up along this corridor here. And then this is the ENT campus. This is phase one of the ENT campus that's being proposed. And so both this commercial office area here as well as the residential area to the north all feed to what is being called the Black Squirrel Creek Lift Station number 2. And so we had actually made a site application to the state back in October of last year, so sort of concurrently with the PPACG process. And so as we got through this process, got a lot involved working with Colorado Springs Utilities. And what came out of that process is what had been presented in front of this committee was to take the discharge from the lift station, and there is an existing force main that Colorado Springs currently has that runs along this entirely westerly boundary here, all the way down to here. It's a force main, then it hits a gravity line at the intersection of Interquest and Federal. And so the thought process is that we'd be able to piggyback onto that force main. 2 other lift stations north of the proposed lift station also tie into that force main. And so as we got involved in all the calculations, looking at future build-out, there were a lot of complications associated, technical complications as we got further into the details that basically precluded us from wanting to move forward with that particular option. And so working with the state's been very accommodating as far as working with us and understanding the critical nature of this project, and working with Colorado Springs Utilities, we are proposing an alternative route that basically takes the discharge from the lift station, and this yellow line that's highlighted on here is the new force main routing that takes it down and ties it into an existing 12-inch gravity trunk line that's located at the southeast corner of the Great Wolf Lodge property. So the actual lift station design, the pumps, everything associated with the lift station stays exactly the same. The only change to the actual site application itself is based upon negotiations with Colorado Springs Utilities when we were going to be tying into that adjacent existing force main. They requested that we have a 4-hour storage, emergency overflow storage associated with that particular concept. Now that we are coming back with our own independent force main, they're allowing us to go back and follow both their criteria and the state criteria of a 1-hour emergency overflow based upon peak flow during a rainfall event. And so the only thing that's changing on the actual site itself is a reduction in size of the emergency storage vault. All the other components, all the other technical aspects of the lift station as previously proposed stays the same. So we just had a meeting with the state last week. And so as we've been getting further along and really now have the concurrence of the state to move forward, I had reached out to Samantha a week or so ago and said, hey, we've got this change going on, not sure of the protocol as it pertains to PPACG. And she suggested that I come by to this meeting and at least let the committee know that these are the changes that are being proposed and see if there's any additional process that we need to go through with this group. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or receive any direction.
Any questions or comments from the members? I have one thing. Under the existing 208 for this area, I believe we require 8 hours of storage, and I don't recall how we got to 4 hours, and now we're going down to 1.
Okay. And we are going by the state's criteria and by CSU's criteria, because this will ultimately be their lift station. And so as we got into the discussions of creating the independent force main, that was the first thing that came out of it, is they had initially required the 4 hour, and then they opened the door and said, hey, per their criteria, they only need the 1 hour. Based upon their response times, based upon their ability to get to their facilities and monitor their facilities, they were comfortable with that. So I was unaware of the 8 hour requirement.
On your new alignment, you have some 90-degree changes in direction. Do you have any issues? Are there going to be any airlock issues on this?
So two things to answer that question is this is the concept layout we've actually started moving forward with the design. We won't have any 90-degree bends. We'll be using 45s in order to get the flows to turn the corner.
All right.
Based upon the profile, we will have one air relief valve, and that's going to be located right near the terminus of Federal. That's the roundabout right in front of the Great Wolf Lodge. So we will have, within that right-of-way, we will have an air relief valve at that location.
All right. So, and yeah, I don't have any issues with the realignment of your force main. I am concerned about the 1 hour, but because we've had a lot of different lift stations come through these committees, and we require 8 hours of storage. And I know tanks cost money, but and I also know Colorado Springs has full-time collection people on board. I was not aware that the state has a 1 hour holding capacity.
Mm-hmm. We were able to confirm that with them last week.
Overflow. Mm-hmm. And that's a concern. I'll open it up for discussion. Anybody have any concern over that?
Because we have been working off of different criteria, so I'm not familiar with CSU specs, but
Yeah.
or the state, I didn't know. I mean, this is just new to me, so I would like to have more information about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to. You're saying that's a state reg?
Mm-hmm.
1 hour?
Mm-hmm. Peak discharge with infiltration. I didn't bring everything along, but that was, we've had, I would say, since this concept started formulating about a month ago, that was one of the very first things we reached out to Doug Camroot about, was to talk about, hey, instead of going from a 10-foot force main to now a 3,000-foot long force main, we were looking at what are some of the trade-offs, and that was immediately one of them that came up, both with CSU and the state, is that the state's response was, well, that was a CSU requirement to go with the 4 hour of containment, and so they were fine with reducing it down to the 1.
Well, I think one thing we know is that when the North Monument Creek Interceptor goes in, this lift station's coming offline at some point. That's the only thing that makes me think, well, okay, but I'm very confused right now, I have to tell you. And we have Brown and Caldwell here now. And could you guys come up, please? Because they've been working on the 208 plan, and I'd like to hear what you guys have to say on this storage on lift stations. What is, in our 208 plan for this area, am I correct in saying we have an 8-hour requirement for storage for lift stations?
Mike, I'm not
That familiar?
with the guidelines or the engineering criteria for that. I couldn't answer you with any confidence.
Yeah, I'm not.
Anybody have the 208 with them that they can look it up?
Is this a 208, regional 208?
Yes.
plan?
Yep,
You
yep.
know, or is this state's guidance on?
The regional 208 plan that we have, that you're working on right now for us, right? Kyle, while they're looking for that, do you have something from Colorado Springs that says 1 hour is okay?
Yeah, I do have email exchanges, as well as we've had several meetings, face to face. And so we are in the process of resubmitting the revised structural plans for the reduced containment area, as well as the buoyancy calculations for the reduced size. And so, yeah, we do have a fair amount of correspondence with them regarding that.
Well, I can say as far as the force main, I don't have any issues with the change of your force main, but I'm questioning this storage capacity change. To me, that's a bigger issue even than the force main realignment. I mean, force main's either going to work or it's not. I'm sure you have all of your calculations for your pumps for your head and all of that. So, anyway.
Well, if a redesign like that, would not require approval from the different agencies again?
Yeah, you would think for storage capacity, yes.
Kyle, this is picking up only the area that's shown on this drawing, or is it picking up the outfall from 2 other lift stations, did you say?
No, I mean, as far as what's being proposed right now, it is just the effluent coming from this area here.
Okay.
We're no longer proposing to commingle any of the existing two lift stations flows with the outfall from this facility.
But that was in one of your previous presentations.
That was the prior approval, was to take the effluent from 3 of those lift stations and utilize one underutilized force main. Yeah.
So this is now, what we're talking about now is the storage only for the area incident to this
Correct.
lift station and not for the outfall from other lift stations.
Correct, and that's always been the case.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the site app for the campground, they list a 2-hour minimum for emergency storage. And they also list a maximum of 1 hour wet well detention time. So is there,
I could have sworn.
confusion of terms there or not?
Yeah. And nothing about lift stations on the. Huh. Wow. Planning requirements. No, right. Yeah, okay. Interesting. Well, so do you have the letter from Colorado Springs saying 1 hour is adequate? Where is that?
I've got email exchanges regarding that, so I can get those into your hands.
Yeah, I think you could get them to Samantha. And so I guess there's actually 2 changes to this application, not just the force main alignment, but the storage capacity. And so I would ask for a vote to 2 separate motions, one for the realignment of the force main.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the amended application for the new geometry of the force main that's on, where's your sheet number?
It says sheet 1 of 1, and it's dated 5/30/2019.
Okay. For the classic May 30, 2019 document presented.
Okay, is there a second? Jerry's leaving the room. Yeah, we might, Hunter, I don't know that you can. Oh. No.
There is no design criteria within the 208 plan itself. It's all going to be related back to the division boards.
Mike, I looked up the Colorado design criteria for domestic wastewater treatment works,
Yes.
and page 31 is not the exact statement here. That is, overflow storage of all wastewater shall be provided at the lift station in the event of an extended power example, depending on methods and availability of staff, materials, and equipment.
Yeah. An hour, to me, an hour doesn't seem like a lot of time, no matter what, but anyway. So on the force main, there is a motion made by Michael. Is there a second to the motion for the force main? Okay. Any further discussion about the force main? Okay, no further discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. So the force main part passes. So on the storage, Kyle, if the power went out, I find it very hard to believe that Colorado Springs Utilities could mobilize quick enough in an hour.
They would argue that they can.
I
that
know.
This is a very important aspect to their code.
They'd have 2 other lift stations possibly that they'd have to go deal with as well. And now that would be catastrophic failure. I mean, that would mean that the generator is down as well. So, you know, that's what we're dealing with.
Sure.
And that would be a pretty rare case. I mean, it'd take a direct lightning strike to blow the panel up. Yeah. Anyway, that's you understand.
Yeah.
My concern. We are supposed to be looking at and protecting, you know, this area's watershed, and looking at that, and we don't want to set up any particular appurtenance for failure to the community.
Understood.
Right? I mean, so that's where, and I'm surprised that the state is going along with an hour. I mean, this is a big area.
Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with the reliability of Colorado Springs Utilities and
Yeah.
their emergency contingency plans.
Well, I suppose their ability to get sued and fined. You know, that's, you know, anyway. So,
Bill, I can speak from experience on my listing. Have you got SCADA or alarm or?
Yes. Yes, there's an alarm system, SCADA. I mean, it's got all the bells and whistles. It's got a redundant pump, full on-site generator, and so it meets all of the CSU specifications. And you know, just to put it in perspective, is they have existing lift stations within their portfolio that do not have any emergency
Right.
storage.
but those were
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And so, you know, it was not an easy process to get through the CSU review process and to get to a point where they were ready for approval. And so, you know, I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, it's.
Yeah. Well, I'll entertain a motion to approve the 1 hour storage, subject to getting a letter to Samantha from Colorado Springs saying that they are okay with that, and that letter become a part of your application with the state as well. So is there a motion to approve?
Mike, I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mike makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Hunter seconds. All those in favor, well, is there any further discussion? Jerry, you got some issues here?
Only that this came up during discussion about the force main and that it's not on our agenda. You know.
I know, yeah, that's,
But certainly, I hate to admit it, that I've been operating off of, you know, an assumed, I guess, criteria for lift stations for a lot of years.
same here. That is somewhere. I don't know where it is,
Yeah.
but I recall that we at some point had said lift stations had to have 8 hours storage, and you're right. I've been working off of that as well.
What Connie just read just indicates that isn't the case.
It doesn't specify, now that's state.
That's the state.
Policy.
And our 208 is separate from the state. Now, the state has to approve our 208, right? But you're right, Jerry, I'm confused, and it's good Brown and Caldwell's here, because maybe we should be adding things about lift stations to our 208, such as, everything, duplicity in the lift stations themselves, the backup generation, the storage, unless otherwise for some particular reason that it's okay to have less. And because you're in the process of going over the 208 now, right? So, anyway, any other discussion? I'll call for all those in favor, say aye. Aye, okay. All those against, say nay. There being none against, the motion passes, so you'll get the letter to Samantha.
Yes.
And, I agree with Jerry, we should have known about this as well, and maybe we would have been able to find wherever that was written about the storage capacity, so, but you're free to go.
Okay.
Thanks, Kyle.
I do want to thank the committee because this was a very last minute, so I appreciate Samantha
Yeah.
working with me. This has been very fast and furious, so
Right. And
appreciate
now
the time.
Samantha's going to think we're sloppy, too. She's going to get a bad impression of us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Take care. Okay, so we finished that. Now we've got Brown and Caldwell here, and we can go over the 208 plan.
All right. I think most folks know me, other Sam Kepley, and we have two Sams and two Andrews on
Yeah,
this project,
yeah.
and there will be no confusion whatsoever. So, since we last met, we had received some updates from folks, which was great. But in the process of receiving updates, we realized we hadn't received all of the updates that we had anticipated. So I think it was a week or two ago, Andy, Andrew, Sam Bailey, and I met on the phone to discuss a revised schedule. We had reached out to, I think it was Krista Trindle at CDPHE, to talk about if it was okay or not to push our schedule back a little bit while we continued to wrangle edits on the 208 plan. The state did not take any issue with that, so I was going to go ahead and start off by looking at our revised schedule. All right. So for today's meeting, this is our fifth meeting, we wanted to review the revised schedule, look at the tracking workbook, which is also up on the Google Drive that folks have access to, talk about some assignments, maybe reassign some things for folks that we're just not really getting in touch with, and then also talk about some of the major point source facilities. If you might recall, many meetings ago, we looked at Section 7 potential red lines. These were for the specific watersheds, and we went over options to sort of pare that down and make it a little bit more user-friendly. And in that, we axed a table that had to do with point source discharger information, the permits, the design capacities, things like that. And as we started to mull it over a little bit more, Andy Gunning suggested that it might be useful information to have in some capacities. So he had sent over a table from Section 6 that we might be able to use as a template to keep some of that information in the plan. So we'll start with the schedule. July 1 is when we're hoping to get revisions to the plan chapters. I know some folks did a really good job, got their homework in early, so maybe they want to take on additional assignments, or maybe they hang back until it's review time. August 6th, we plan to have the updated draft to the WQMC for their comments, edits, review. August, we will submit to CDPHE for a preliminary review. They indicated that they wanted to see it, I think it was about 60 days before it went in for final. In September, it'll go back as a final draft to WQMC, and then go before the PPACG Community Advisory Committee at the end of September, and then to PPACG Board of Directors in October. And then we can plan to submit that to CDPHE if there are any revisions, and go into, I think it's the December hearing. So that is our path forward. And with that, I'll go ahead and move into our tracking sheet. All right, lots of colors. The green is good. It means that we've gotten edits. They've been implemented. We are trucking right along. For some sections, we're still, this says TBD, but PPACG has been working on the population projections, and I believe Andy was just ensuring recently that all of the comments had been implemented. I believe some stakeholders had some follow-up questions or comments on the population projections, so I think PPACG is ironing that out. Does that sound right?
Yes, and I actually included that in our agenda. I'm working with our GIS team to get some more background information on those projections, because like you mentioned, there was some comments made. So we're actually going to review the data that we have now, meet with a few of those folks that did provide those comments, and make sure that those projections are as accurate as possible. So my plan is to get those projections out by the end of July, and for more further comment from you all.
Wonderful. And so we have had some comments received and not entirely incorporated. And some of this comes from, so we received some comments from a volunteer in the city of Alma, and it was more of a pointing to resources of where we could find information. So some comments were made throughout the plan by this volunteer with just sort of ideas of where to go to seek updates. And so Sam Bailey and I are working on figuring out how to get those comments incorporated, how to find that information and change it in the plan. I have two highlights here, two sections, 3.6 and 3.2. Jim Kendrick had previously volunteered to work on these sections, and Mike, you had offered to help him, I think, with section 3.2.
Yeah.
But
And I was also on the list of Mark Shade for the
for this one?
Right.
Oh, okay, great. And I just wanted to get this back out in front of folks. I know Jim Kendrick's participation has tapered down a little bit, and so I don't know if we need additional resources to fill the gaps on 3.6 and 3.2.
What information do you need on that 3.6?
So originally, when we drafted this, we had agreed that folks would go through, read the section for updates, and redline it.
Okay.
So that's what we were looking for. And some sections, had minimal updates, right? Some of them are not super
Right. I
involved.
can call Jim and
Okay.
Samantha, since the last time we met, El Paso County at least has completed and adopted their water master plan. So that was some of the things that we're going to get incorporated from that, or references to that.
Okay.
So,
So maybe I should reach back out to.
well, I was on the steering committee, so.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Wonderful. So then I had received comments from Aaron a while back. Do do you want to just look back over those sections for any additional updates that might be made in El Paso County? That is section 4.1. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and great. And I know, folks, we were having, some folks were having a hard time getting to the Google Docs version of the 208 plan. Are folks, you're okay? Okay.
I've had trouble with that all along.
Yeah.
Is there some other way?
I mean, I can give it to you on a thumb drive from the server right now.
That'd be wonderful.
We can do that.
Go for that too.
Yeah.
It's like the Word document, the PDF opens fine, but
Yeah.
the Word, it's,
Oh, weird.
it loads like the first couple pages and then it says, whoops, there's a problem loading.
Even
It
if,
has all the time.
can you download it to your desktop and then open it as Microsoft Word? Okay. That
Sounds
might
like-
work a little friendlier because it is a several hundred-page document, so sometimes the Google machine, with all of its powers and capabilities, struggles to open a document that size. We had that issue with the watershed plan back in the day.
Sounds like we could all use a flash drive of it. Is that what you said you got?
Yeah, I can, I mean, I have access to my server right now, so if folks wanted, if folks have thumb drives, I don't have any extra thumb
I don't
drives with
have any
me.
either, but, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So then, I know we're waiting for some other sections to come through, but do folks feel like, for those who are assigned things here, does July 1 seem like something that we can accomplish? Okay. Excellent. All right, and then with that, I just wanted to discuss real quick, so we had, I think this is what I want. Yeah. So originally, we were looking through Section 7, as I mentioned earlier, and we were trying to find ways to make the plan a little bit more user-friendly, pare it down a bit. And in that, we came across a table with dischargers, like discharger-specific information, and we decided at that moment that it wouldn't be particularly useful to the 208. But then upon, further consideration, Andy suggested that maybe just a table like this, where it just has design, capacity, existing load, location, permit number, and discharger name. Maybe this is simple enough to keep. It's not a burdensome amount of information, but still could be useful to the committee. And I guess I would open that up for discussion.
Are you saying you don't have this information for the facilities down here?
No. Oh, I'm just saying that in previous meetings, we agreed to omit tables like this in all of the watershed sections.
I think, Samantha, one of the reasons we were going to omit that is because it's an ever-changing element as different treatment plants add capacity and such. So, this is date-specific.
Yeah.
And we thought that if the 208 plan's up there, people will be referencing it. And if one of these towns, like Alma or Fairplay, changes their capacity or changes their methodology, and it's not reflected for another 10 years.
It'd be pretty easy to put a little qualifier in on the heading of the table, as of July 1, 2019, or something like that.
Yeah.
And locating this information would be fairly easy. You could go to a website or something, you can go and see what their flow limit is, which you would assume would be their design capacity. And you could just take a quick look at 3 months worth of flow data and see where they're at as far as maybe their max flow in the last, max 30-day average flow in the last
And the permit numbers are there. You could take the design capacity and existing load out, or I kind of like what you're saying, is just put as of July 1, 2019, you know, that's what's on that permit. So.
So just give at least a record of who is out there.
Mhm.
Now, doing a search for any new permits would be a little trickier. Could possibly be done, but I guess if anybody knows of any new facilities, they'd all have had to come through this.
Something, yeah.
For approval at some point in time.
Mhm.
If they had it in.
So it sounds like keeping a table with this level of detail meets the needs of the committee as long as we put a qualifier about when it was recent as of.
Mhm.
Perfect.
And after this, wasn't there descriptions of each one? But we'd still be
Correct.
cutting that part back. We wouldn't have to put in the overall 3 pages on the town of Alma's wastewater treatment facility and their design.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they have UV instead of GR occurrence of the chlorine or biological nutrient treatment, whatever that is anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pared back information on all of the different dischargers and industrial processes in each watershed. Perfect. And the example of the Section 7 red lines also still live on the Google Drive, but I believe I had emailed them out to the group once before. But if folks have thumb drives and they want the 208 plan, I can just throw the Section 7 red lines on there too as an example, if that makes things easier. And I can send the tracking workbook out, because it sounds like, are you guys able to access the tracking worksheet pretty easily on the Google Drive? Okay. Cool. All right, well then, if folks don't have any questions on the revised timeline or on their specific sections, we'll just plug along since we're already in the first week of June. I'll probably send some chase emails to folks who are on the list by like mid-June. So I'll find you.
Send one to Jim on this. I'll call him.
Okay.
It may be that he didn't have anything. So, 'cause
Okay.
you know Jim is pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty on top of it.
He loves to write.
He does. Some of my best emails have come from Jim.
Not necessarily having to do the work.
Those are my favorite emails. Yeah. All right. Well, perfect. Well, then I'll follow up with Jim along with you, and then I'll start sending chase emails in a few weeks. So if anybody else has questions or concerns, just let me know. And if you have thumb drives now, I can put some stuff on there for you.
Okay, and then we should also be looking into this lift station issue, too, site applications for lift stations. I think it's clear through 208 that applications have to, through the EPA and the state, that applications have to come through committees if they exist. Dr. Caldwell disappeared. But anyway, it just seems to me, remember all the stuff that was in the old 208? I mean, we had mag chloride, I think, in there, and there was all kinds of stuff. It's just hard to imagine that there was nothing in there about this capacity and backup generation and that type of thing. And there should be at least a short paragraph for people dealing with these things so that they know what to expect when they come to this committee. You know, that we're looking for like this mobile home applicant having one pump in their lift station, well, that was 50 years ago, 40 years ago. Everything's 2 pumps, backup generation, and some storage capacity if something goes wrong. I understand Colorado Springs is huge, and they've got trucks and people running everywhere on their collection system. So, but for smaller districts like Gary and I, we have to kind of, if something blows up, we have to scramble, and we need a little time to get things done. So there could be language that well, I don't know.
Well, so the policy document that the division has, that has all the specific kind of criteria in it that Connie and I was right behind her on that one, looking at it. I finished doing that search for hours, and that was the only statement on lift stations and how much time you need. It's pretty vague.
That is
that you need enough time to be able to mobilize and get out there. So it is going to be something that's going to be different for utilities versus a smaller district.
Right.
You have different numbers and amounts of people that are on call and equipment staff and move forward. As far as incorporating all the different design criteria, that would make a long document very much longer.
Yes.
And subject to even more change as the division updates it, especially since they're going through the whole site approval, right, 22 updates right now. Then the guidance is going to change, and we would be a couple of years.
You would think that we need to match with what the state wants, but then on the other hand, 208 is local, right? So it's what we've experienced in our own lives and what we've seen in other districts and problems that have occurred through the years that, we're trying to help these applicants in these districts. So I don't know if there could just be some short paragraph about that. We don't need to put in the design criteria.
Yeah, I did find a statement in the 208 that regards that. It says, lift stations must provide enough emergency storage capacity at peak flow for the specific entity to respond to an emergency situation, either fix the problem or remove the wastewater through trucks.
Yeah.
So that, it doesn't have the
It
specific.
doesn't have a time frame.
Right, but I think it's kind of like what they're saying with the state, it's still
Right.
pretty vague, but it is addressed in that.
Yeah, Mike, the other thing is, as we've seen it come through the SARC and through the Water Quality Management Committee, many of these smaller stations that are just serving a trailer community or something like that, and then they're contracting with a larger district, like we've seen, like we just saw in the most recent one, and half a dozen of them in the last 2-3 years. Those don't have the resources that Colorado Springs Utilities or Fountain Utilities or any of the other larger entities do, and they often contract the operation of these to some vendor who, what happens, like we were talking, what happens if it happens in the middle of a screaming snowstorm and all the power's down and you don't have a generator on site. That's the things that I'm more concerned about than a municipal or a district that's got resources.
Right. That's very true. So, and it seems like most of the lift stations we've had to deal with are those type of districts and communities that are smaller, not real large cities and that type of thing. So, yeah. Okay. Well, yes, Connie.
Mike, I did finally find that Colorado Springs Utilities wastewater line extension and service standards. And for emergency storage, it says, emergency storage shall be sized to hold a minimum of 1 hour of the maximum hour influent flow. Additional emergency storage may be required by Colorado Springs Utilities based on the proximity of the pumping station to surface waters and the designated use of such surface waters, including immediate downstream users, emergency response procedures, and available response.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess if there's an intake, is what that's saying, is that right? Yeah. Yeah, okay. A diversion or something, yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, Andy, you get what I'm,
Oh, yeah, I mean, I was just looking to see how long this policy document was from the division that outlines all the criteria, 162 pages. Not everything that we want to tack on. I'm not sure it's anything we want to try to condense, but, we can link it into the plan, or, everybody should have it bookmarked, ready to go when you're reviewing something like this, that you can go in and look for a lift station. Okay, well, what's the requirement, because obviously you're not going to remember everything, but having it accessible and ready to go, questions like that come up would be good. I don't know how best to do that, but. Yeah.
and I guess, are we being too hard on these applicants when they can, say, because 8 hours of storage can cost a lot of money, right? I mean, now, at my lift stations, I'm happy to have it, because if something goes wrong, it's just me, right? I've got to round up all the cats and get them out there to start fixing things, right? So, I'm happy to have that kind of capacity, right?
Well, I would think Colorado Springs Utilities would be awfully sensitive to this, since they have had problems in the past with overflows and got slapped around pretty good by the...
That was my joke. I don't know if you got
I
it,
did.
about
I
them
didn't catch
being
it, sorry.
sued, yeah, by Pueblo, right? I mean, that's the main one, and I guess they know what will happen to them if they have a problem. So it's not going to be nice. So, okay, Sam, anything else for us? Andy?
That's it.
Andrew, you got anything else?
Just, yeah, we just need to make sure we can get those updates in.
Okay, all right.
It's still going to take time to incorporate them all into the final document, to edit it, finalize it, get it out to post, to have one committee review it, have the group review it, to have, I mean, it's going to, it's still a long haul. So
Oh, yeah.
We really need to get this stuff kind of wrapped up in June as far as the updates. So
Okay.
continue to work, put it all together, and get it ready for people to start reviewing.
Thank you. Ann, do you have anything you want to add?
Going back to the last comment, I kind of wondered on the requirement, you do have different districts with different needs regarding emergency situations. Just put the onus back on the applicant. You put that in 208 that says, another qualifier, that says something to the effect, these site applications would require the applicant to provide the information from the district they're discharging into, as what those holding tank requirements are, and put reference in there. That would come with each site application. So you wouldn't have to update the 208, you have the reference in there, the applicant would provide the information, and you can go like that. That's just a thought.
I like that thought. That's very good. Okay, yep. And so we'll put a reference in the 208 to that effect. Ann?
That's my suggestion.
Yeah, okay.
Put in reference in the 208, the specific site applications that come in, the applicant for those would be required to provide the information for the district that they're discharging into, what the minimums are for those holding tank discharge in emergency situations. So that would include the holding tank volume, and the backup power generation.
Yes. Yeah, good. I like that. Yeah, I think that sounds good. That's a simple statement, right? Yeah. Okay. Yes, you may. Not quite yet. Samantha, do you have anything that you want to add to all of this? Do you recall in Wisconsin what did they have overflow capacity at the lift stations up there? Did they have anything specific?
I don't know off the top of my head, and I haven't worked with a 208 plan in the last few
Okay.
years. But this is a good learning point, and I still need to review the 208 plan, and I'll be sure to work with Sam and Andy
Yes,
if I
good.
have
Okay.
any updates or questions.
All right, any further comments from the Water Quality Management Committee? Being none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Very good.
Yeah, it was short and-
Beat these people up when they got
I know.
But I don't know that we're beating them up. To me, it's just, hey, you know.
You mean for the storage capacity? Yeah.
It is just good to have time to be
To
able to
respond.
relax. And you could be tired, there's all kinds of things, right? We had just had some other problem the day before.
Yeah. Now we're getting into the time of year too where vacations are.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Ann, that was very good.
I'm going to help Samantha in
Oh,
this
good,
transition.
good. So that'll
Yeah, I'm